The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Representatives from 100 different species sat in their seats, watching the center stage where two figures stood facing each other. One was tall and covered in dark scales, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red like dying stars. This was Emperor of the Empire. The other was a human woman, small compared to the massive alien before her. Her name was, and she was the Ambassador of Earth. Did not look afraid. Her face was calm, her hands steady at her sides. She wore the simple black uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, and her dark hair was pulled back tight. She looked up at the Emperor without any sign of fear in her eyes. "Emperor," said, her voice clear and strong, "I am here to deliver a formal warning from the United Earth government. 3 days ago, your ships attacked our colony on the planet we call New Dawn. 47 of our people were killed. 83 were taken as prisoners." The Emperor made a sound that might have been a laugh. His red eyes looked down at the small human with something like amusement. "And what will your little species do about it, human? Send more words, more warnings?" Did not react to his mockery. "I am giving you one chance, Emperor. Release our people. Pay for the damage you have caused. Promise that this will never happen again. If you do these things, there will be peace between our species." "And if I do not?" asked, spreading all 4 of his arms wide. "What then, little human? Will you cry? Will you beg?" "No," said simply. "We will come for our people, and we will not stop until we have them back." The hall filled with sounds of laughter and mockery from many of the assembled aliens. The Empire was one of the oldest and most powerful forces in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of species. Their fleet numbered in the thousands. The idea that humans, who had only been in space for 200 years, could threaten them seemed like a joke. But not everyone was laughing. In the upper seats, a gray-skinned alien named watched the scene with worried eyes. Was old, older than most beings in the galaxy. He had been on the council for 300 years, and he had seen many things. He had seen the rise and fall of empires. He had seen species that seemed unbeatable brought to nothing. And he had seen what humans could do. Remembered the war 30 years ago. There had been insect-like creatures, aggressive and hungry. They had attacked human colonies, eating the people they found. Everyone thought the humans would fall. There were savage fighters, and there were so many of them. But the humans did not fall. They fought back with a fury that shocked the galaxy. They did not just defend themselves. They hunted across space. They found every nest, every hive, every hidden base, and they burned them all. They had begged for mercy at the end. The humans had not given it. Now, looking at the calm face of Ambassador, felt a chill run through his old body. He knew that look. It was not the look of someone who was bluffing. It was the look of someone who was giving a final warning before doing something terrible. Emperor did not seem to notice. He stepped closer towering over her, trying to make her feel small. "You humans are amusing," he said. "So brave with your words, but words do not win wars. Ships win wars. Soldiers win wars. And they have more of both than your pathetic species could ever dream of." "That may be true," agreed. "You have more ships, you have more soldiers, but let me tell you something about humans, Emperor, something that many species have learned too late." She paused, and the hall grew quiet. Even those who had been laughing stopped to listen. "We do not fight like other species," continued. "When you attack one of us, you attack all of us. When you take one of our people, every human in the galaxy feels it. We do not forget, we do not forgive, and we do not stop." Made that laughing sound again. "Pretty words, but I have heard enough of them." He turned away from her, looking at the assembled council. "Let this be a lesson to all. The Empire does what it wants. We take what we want. And no one, not humans, not anyone, can stop us." Stood still for a moment, watching him. Then she spoke one last time. "Emperor, I came here in good faith. I offered you peace. I gave you a chance to make things right. Remember this moment. Remember that you were warned." She turned and walked out of the hall without looking back. watched her go, then looked at the Emperor, who was accepting congratulations from his allies. The thought they had won something today. They thought they had shown their power, but knew better. He had seen this before. He had seen species mock the humans, ignore their warnings, push them too far, and he had seen what came after. The humans had a saying that had never forgotten: "Do not poke the bear." They had just poked the bear, and they did not even know it. As left the council hall, he made a decision. He would move his people away from space. He would tell his ships to stay far from any area where humans might meet, because war was coming. He was sure of it. And when humans went to war, they did not stop until the job was done. On her ship flying back toward Earth space, Ambassador sat alone in her quarters. She looked out at the stars passing by, and for the first time she let her calm mask fall. Her hands shook a little. Her eyes grew wet with tears she would not let fall. She had done her job. She had given the warning. She had offered peace, and it had been rejected just as she had known it would be. Now the soldiers would come, the ships would launch, the hunters would hunt. Closed her eyes and thought of the 83 people still trapped somewhere in space, scared, alone, waiting for rescue that they probably thought would never come. "Hold on," she whispered to them, even though they could not hear her. "We are coming for you, all of us, and nothing in this galaxy will stop us." She opened her eyes and looked at the stars again. Somewhere out there, the Emperor was probably celebrating his victory over the small human woman who had dared to threaten him. He had no idea what was coming. But he would learn. They always learned the hard way. The mining station on 9 was not a big place. It was just a collection of metal buildings on a cold, rocky moon, where 32 humans worked to dig valuable minerals from the ground. It was a quiet place, far from Earth, far from the busy trade routes of the galaxy. The people who worked there liked it that way. They were simple workers who wanted simple lives. Commander was in charge of the station. He was a calm man with gray in his hair and kind eyes. He had worked in space for 20 years, and he had never wanted to be anything more than what he was: a good leader, a steady hand, someone his people could trust. On the morning when everything changed, was drinking his coffee and looking at the day's work reports. The miners would be going down into the tunnels soon. The machines were ready. Everything was normal. Then the alarm started screaming. Ran to the control room where his second-in-command, a young woman named, was already at the sensors. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking as she worked the controls. "What is it?" asked his voice sharp. "Ships," said, 12 of them, coming fast. "They are not answering our calls." Looked at the screen and felt his heart go cold. He recognized those ship designs. Everyone in the galaxy knew them. The dark, angular shapes, the red markings on the sides. "Warships. Get everyone to the emergency shelter," ordered. "Now, move." Ran to sound the alarm, and soon the whole station was filled with the sounds of running feet and scared voices. Stayed in the control room trying to send a message to Earth, to anyone, but they were already blocking their signals. No one would hear them. No one would come in time. The ships landed around the station like hungry animals surrounding their prey. Watched through the window as the doors opened and the soldiers came out. They were big, covered in dark scales, carrying weapons that could burn through metal. There was no point in fighting. The station had a few security people, but they had small guns meant for dealing with wildlife, not war. Against soldiers, they would last maybe 30 seconds. Made a choice. He would not let his people die for nothing. He opened the station's main doors and walked out to meet the enemy. The commander was called Vex. He was even bigger than the others, with scars on his scales that showed he had seen many battles. He looked at with those glowing red eyes and made a sound of disgust. "You surrender already?" Vex asked. "Your species truly is weak." "My species knows when to fight and when not to," answered. His voice was steady, even though his heart was racing. "We are workers, not soldiers. We have done nothing to you." Vex stepped closer and had to look up to see his face. "You are human, that is enough. Your kind insulted our emperor, now you will pay the price." The soldiers moved through the station, pulling people from their hiding places. Some of the workers cried. Some screamed. A few tried to run, but they caught them easily. Watched it all, helpless, anger burning inside him like a fire he could not let out. They were put in chains, all 32 of them. Men and women who had done nothing wrong except be born human. They were loaded onto the ships like animals being taken to market. Ended up next to in the dark hold of one of the ships. She was shaking, tears running down her face. He put his chained hands on her shoulder, trying to give her some comfort. "They will come for us," he whispered. "Earth will not forget us." Looked at him with eyes full of fear. What if they cannot find us? What if we are lost forever? Did not have an answer for that. He just held on to her and hoped that his words were true. They took them to a prison station deep in their territory. It was a horrible place, dark and cold, filled with the sounds of suffering. The humans were put in cells together, given barely enough food and water to stay alive. The guards came sometimes to hit them, to laugh at them, to remind them that they were nothing. But the worst part was the broadcasts. They wanted the galaxy to see what they had done. They recorded the captured humans and sent the images everywhere. Every species in the council saw the 32 people in chains. They saw the bruises, the fear, the desperation. Emperor appeared in one of the broadcasts, standing in front of the prisoners like a hunter showing off his kills. "This is what happens to those who challenge the Empire," he said, his voice booming across the galaxy. "Let all species remember, the humans thought they could threaten us. Now their people suffer, and their government does nothing." He was right about one thing: Earth did nothing. In the days after the capture, the galaxy waited to see how the humans would respond. Would they send diplomats? Would they beg for their people back? Would they offer money, resources, anything to save them? Nothing. The humans sent nothing. They said nothing. Their ships stayed where they were. Their government made no statements. It was as if the 32 people on 9 had been forgotten. The other species in the galaxy were confused. Some thought the humans were scared. Others thought they did not care about their own people. A few, like Old, knew better. But most thought the great human species had finally been shown as the weak creatures they truly were. In the prison, heard about the silence. The guards made sure to tell him, to laugh at him, to break his hope. "Your people have abandoned you," they said. "No one is coming. You will die here forgotten." But did not believe them. He had lived among humans all his life. He knew his species better than any ever could. He knew that the silence did not mean surrender. It did not mean his people had given up. The silence meant something else, something they would not understand until it was too late. At night, when the guards were away and the other prisoners were sleeping, would sit in the darkness and think about home. He thought about the green mountains of Korea where he had grown up. He thought about his wife, Myra, who was probably going crazy with worry. He thought about his daughter, who was only 10 years old and did not understand why her father had not come home. He made himself a promise. He would survive. No matter what they did to him, he would survive, because he knew deep in his heart that help was coming. The humans would not leave them here. They never left their own behind. As the days passed and the torture continued, held on to that hope. He shared it with the others, whispering it in the dark when no one else could hear. "They are coming," he would say. "Be strong, be patient. They are coming." Some believed him, some did not, but they all held on because what else could they do? Far away, in the space between stars, something was moving. Ships were gathering. Plans were being made. Soldiers were preparing for a mission that would shake the galaxy. The Empire did not know it yet. They were too busy celebrating their victory, too proud of their captured humans, too sure that they had won. They had no idea that the hunters were already on their way. And when the hunters arrived, there would be no mercy. There would be no negotiation. There would only be blood and fire and the terrible price of underestimating humanity. The silence was almost over. The storm was about to begin. 1 month passed, then 2. The galaxy watched and waited, but Earth remained silent. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, representatives whispered to each other about the strange behavior of the humans. Some said they were cowards. Some said they were smart to avoid a war they could not win. A few said nothing at all because they knew something the others did not. Emperor was enjoying his victory. He had shown the galaxy that the Empire was strong and that humans were weak. He had taken prisoners and faced no punishment. Every day, he received messages of congratulation from allies and messages of fear from enemies. This was what power looked like. "The humans are nothing," told his advisors one evening. "They talk big, but when we push them, they fall apart. Soon, we will take more of their colonies. We will expand our empire into their space, and they will do nothing to stop us." His advisors agreed, because that was what advisors did. But one of them, an old general named, had a worried look in his eyes. "Emperor," said carefully, "I have studied the humans, their history, their wars. They are not like other species." Waved a hand dismissively. "They are exactly like other species. They just pretend to be more." "Perhaps," said, "but there is something strange happening. Our scouts in human space report that things are too quiet. No ships moving. No communications we can catch. It is like they have disappeared." Good laughed. "They are hiding, scared of us, as they should be." Wanted to say more, but he knew it was useless. The Emperor had made up his mind. Humans were weak. Humans were defeated. That was the truth, and no one could change it. But remembered the old stories. Stories from species that no longer existed. Species that had once laughed at humans, just as the Emperor was laughing now. Those species had learned a terrible lesson. Humans did not hide because they were scared. They hid because they were preparing. Far away, in a part of space that they had never seen, the human fleet was gathering. 30 ships at first, then 50, then 100. They came from every colony, every station, every hidden base that humanity had built across the galaxy. At the center of the fleet was a ship called the Iron Will. It was not the biggest ship or the most beautiful, but it was the ship of captain, and that made it the most dangerous. Was 50 years old with short gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. She had been a soldier for 30 years, fighting in every conflict humanity had faced. She had scars on her body and deeper scars in her mind. She did not smile much. She did not joke. She had only one purpose now, and that purpose burned inside her like a star. Bring our people home, no matter the cost. In the command room of the Iron Will stood before her officers. They were all veterans, all chosen for this mission because they were the best humanity had. "You know why we are here," said, her voice quiet but hard as steel. 32 of our people are in hands. They have been tortured. They have been shown to the galaxy like animals. They are waiting for us to save them." She looked at each officer in turn. "We will not fail them. We will not stop until every single one of them is safe, and we will make the pay for what they have done." No one spoke. No one needed to. They all felt the same fire that felt. "Our plan is simple," continued. "We go in fast. We hit hard. We do not stop to fight battles we do not need to fight. Our goal is the prison station where our people are held. Once we have them, we leave. Everything else is secondary." A young officer named Jin raised his hand. "What about the fleet? They have thousands of ships." "They have ships everywhere," agreed. "But they are spread thin. They think they are safe. They think no one would dare attack them in their own space. That is their weakness, and we will use it." She pulled up a map of territory on the screen. "We enter here through the broken passage. It is dangerous, full of asteroids and radiation. They do not guard it because they think no one is crazy enough to use it." A small smile crossed her face. They forgot who they were dealing with. The plan was set. The ships were ready. All that remained was to begin. As the fleet prepared to move, stood alone at the window of her ship, looking out at the stars. Somewhere in that darkness were 32 humans who had given up hope, who thought they had been forgotten, who did not know that help was on the way. "We are coming," she whispered, her breath fogging the cold glass. "Hold on just a little longer. We are coming." The fleet moved out in silence. No announcements, no broadcasts, no warnings. They slipped through space like shadows, invisible to the sensors of other species. They had no idea they were coming. As the human ships entered the broken passage, felt something she had not felt in a long time. Not fear, not doubt, something else. Hope. They would save their people. She was sure of it. She had to be sure of it because the alternative was unthinkable. Back in space, the first sign that something was wrong came from a small outpost on the edge of their territory. It was a communication station, staffed by only a dozen soldiers. One moment, they were sending their regular reports. The next moment, silence. The command tried to contact them. No response. They sent a ship to investigate. The ship found nothing but wreckage and bodies. At first, the thought it was an accident. Maybe a reactor explosion. Maybe a meteor strike. These things happen sometimes in space. But then another outpost went dark, and another, and another. Reports started coming in from across space. Ships disappearing, stations destroyed. No survivors, no messages, just silence where there should have been noise. General brought the reports to Emperor, and for the first time, he saw something other than pride in the Emperor's eyes. Fear. "What is happening?" demanded. "Who is doing this?" "We do not know for certain," said, "but our analysts believe. They believe it is the humans." "Impossible," said. "They would not dare." Emperor said quietly, "I think we need to consider the possibility that we were wrong about them." Stared at him for a long moment. Then he shook his head. "Send the fleet. Find these attackers and destroy them. Show the galaxy that the Empire cannot be challenged." Wanted to argue, but he knew it was pointless. The Emperor had given an order. All he could do was obey. But as he left to carry out the command, felt a cold certainty in his heart. The humans had come, just as they had promised, and they were about to learn why every species in the galaxy had one simple rule. Do not provoke the humans. Because when you did, survival was not guaranteed. The hunt had begun. The outpost called Station 7 was a small military base floating in the darkness between stars. It had 50 soldiers, a commander named, and nothing interesting happening for months. The soldiers were bored. They played games. They complained about the food. They dreamed of being somewhere important. Then, in the middle of the night cycle, the alarm started screaming. Ran to the command center, his heart's pounding. "What is it?" he shouted. "What is happening?" The sensor officer looked up with terror in his eyes. "Ships, Commander, human ships. They came out of nowhere." "How many?" demanded. 20, no 30, no, the officer's voice broke. "I cannot count them all." Looked at the screen and felt his blood turn cold. The human fleet was surrounding them like wolves around a wounded animal. There was no escape. There was no chance of victory. They were dead already, and they knew it. "Send a distress signal," ordered. "Tell command we are under attack." "I cannot," the officer said. "They are blocking everything. Nothing is getting out." The first shots hit the station before could say another word. The walls shook. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, soldiers screamed as fire consumed them. It was over in minutes. The humans did not land troops. They did not try to take prisoners. They simply destroyed the station from space, reducing it to burning metal and floating bodies. When they were done, they moved on, leaving nothing behind but wreckage. This was the human way of war, fast, brutal, complete. On the bridge of the Iron Will, Captain watched the destruction with cold eyes. There was no joy in what she was doing. No satisfaction, only purpose. Station 7 is gone, her tactical officer reported, moving to next target. Good, said. How long until we reach the prison station? At this pace, 18 hours, but they are starting to respond. They have ships moving to intercept us. Nodded, she had expected this. They were not stupid, just arrogant. Once they realized what was happening, they would fight back. The question was whether they could stop her before she reached her goal. Let them come, said. We are not here to hide, we are here to send a message. The human fleet pushed deeper into space, leaving destruction in its wake. Outposts burned, patrol ships vanished, supply lines were cut. The military, which had seemed so powerful from the outside, was showing its weakness. They were spread too thin, too confident, too slow to react. In the capital, Emperor watched the reports come in with growing horror. His great empire was being carved apart by creatures he had dismissed as weak. Every hour brought news of another loss. Every hour the humans came closer. How is this possible? He demanded of General. Where did they get this fleet? Where did they get these weapons? They built them, said quietly. While we were laughing at them, they were preparing. The silence was not surrender, Emperor. It was the calm before the storm. Slammed his fist against his throne. Then stop them. Send every ship we have. I have, said, but they are faster than us, smarter than us. They know exactly where to strike and when. It is like they know everything about our defenses. Because they did. What they did not know was that human spies had been in their space for years, watching, learning, mapping every base, every patrol route, every weakness. When the time came to act, the humans knew exactly how to hurt the most. The biggest battle came on the third day, in a place called the Crossroads. It was a meeting point of 3 major space lanes, and they had sent 200 ships to stop the human advance. Captain looked at the enemy fleet on her screen and felt nothing but determination. This was the moment. If they could break through here, nothing would stop them from reaching the prison. All ships, she said over the fleet-wide channel, this is Captain, we all know why we are here. We all know what we are fighting for. 32 of our brothers and sisters are counting on us. Do not let them down. The battle began. Human ships moved with perfect coordination, each one knowing exactly where to be and what to do. They had trained for this. They had planned for this. Every captain, every crew, every soldier was part of a single machine with one purpose. They fought hard. They were warriors after all. They had won many battles before, but they had never faced anything like this. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not hold back. They did not protect themselves. They threw everything they had at the enemy, and when ships were destroyed, the others just pushed harder. It was terrifying, even for the battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the human fleet had lost 40 ships. They had lost 170. The rest ran away, fleeing to safety, leaving the path to the prison wide open. On the Iron Will allowed herself a moment of grief for the ships they had lost. Each one was full of humans who had given their lives for this mission. They would be remembered. They would be honored. But for now, there was still work to do. Move forward, she ordered. We are almost there. The prison station came into view 12 hours later. It was an ugly thing, all dark metal and sharp angles, floating in the emptiness like a monument to cruelty. This was where their people were being held. This was where the nightmare would end. I want every weapon locked on that station, said. But do not fire. Our people are inside. We are doing this the hard way. The hard way meant sending in troops, soldiers in armor, carrying guns, ready to fight and die to save 32 lives. Commander Jin led the assault team, his heart pounding as the shuttle approached the station. Remember, Jin told his soldiers, civilians are the priority. Kill any that gets in your way, but do not risk our people. Understood? Understood, they replied as one. The shuttle hit the station hard, cutting through the outer wall. The soldiers poured out, guns blazing. Guards fell before they could even raise their weapons. The humans moved fast, clearing room after room, corridor after corridor. They found the first prisoners in a cell block on the 3rd level. Humans in chains, dirty, wounded, but alive. Their eyes went wide when they saw the soldiers, not believing what they were seeing. Who are you?" one of them asked, his voice breaking. Jin smiled behind his helmet. "We are from Earth. We are here to take you home." The prisoners started crying. After months of torture, months of being told they were forgotten, they were finally being saved. Jin wanted to cry too, but there was no time. There were more people to find. They found Commander in the deepest part of the prison, alone in a cell, barely conscious. He had been beaten badly, but he was alive. When Jin lifted him up, opened his eyes and looked at him. "I told them," whispered. "I told them you would come." "You were right," Jin said. "Now let us get you out of here." All 32 prisoners were found and loaded onto the shuttles. The station was rigged with explosives, and as the human fleet pulled away, it exploded behind them, lighting up the darkness like a new star. On the Iron Will watched the explosion and finally allowed herself to breathe. They had done it. Against all odds, against all the power of the Empire, they had saved their people. But the mission was not over yet. There was still one more thing to do. The galaxy needed to learn a lesson, and humans were very good teachers. There was called a massive planet of red deserts and black mountains. Billions of lived there, in great cities built from stone and metal. At the center of the largest city stood the Imperial Palace, where Emperor sat on his throne and tried to understand how everything had gone so wrong. His fleet was broken. His outposts were burning. The humans had cut through his empire like a knife through soft flesh, and now they were coming for him. His generals told him to flee. His advisors told him to surrender, but was too proud, too stubborn. He would not run from creatures he had called weak. "Let them come," he said, his voice heavy with anger. "They cannot destroy an entire planet. They do not have the strength." General stood before him, looking older than he ever had. "Emperor, I beg you, the humans are not like us. They do not conquer. They do not negotiate. When you hurt them, they destroy you. It is their way." "Their way will end here," said. "On ours, surrounded by our people. They would not dare attack us here. The galaxy would turn against them." But even as he spoke the words, was not sure he believed them. He had seen the reports, the video footage of human ships burning stations, the recordings of human soldiers moving through corridors like machines of death. These were not the weak creatures he had mocked. These were something else entirely. The human fleet arrived at 3 days later. Captain stood on the bridge of the Iron Will and looked at the planet below. It was beautiful in its own alien way. Millions of years of history, billions of lives, the center of an empire that had conquered dozens of species. She felt nothing. "Captain," her tactical officer said, "the defensive fleet is forming around the planet. 300 ships. It is everything they have left." "It will not be enough," said. "Open a channel, all frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." The channel opened and his voice went out across the galaxy. To the fleet, to the council, to every species watching and waiting to see what would happen. "This is Captain of the United Earth Fleet," she said. "I am speaking to Emperor and the people of the Empire. 3 months ago you attacked our colony. You killed our people. You took prisoners and tortured them. You broadcast their suffering to the galaxy as a joke." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We asked for peace. You laughed. We warned you of consequences. You ignored us. We told you not to provoke humanity. You did it anyway." Her voice grew harder, colder. "Now we are here. Your fleet is broken. Your outposts are gone. Your people are afraid. And you, Emperor, you are wondering if we will destroy your world." In his palace, listened to the human's words and felt something he had never felt before. True fear. "We could," continued. We have the weapons, we have the will. We could turn your planet to ash and end your species forever. Some of my people want me to. They want revenge for what you did." She looked at the planet below, and for a moment she thought about it. How easy it would be, how satisfying. They had earned nothing less. But that was not why she was here. "We are not going to destroy you," said. "Not because you deserve mercy. You do not. Not because we are weak. We are not. We choose not to destroy you because that is not who we want to be." In the council hall, far away, listened to the broadcast and felt tears rolling down his old face. This was why he had always respected the humans, not because of their strength, though they were strong, because of their control, because they could burn the galaxy if they wanted to, and they chose not to. "But we will leave you with a lesson," continued. "A lesson you will never forget, a lesson every species in this galaxy should remember." The human fleet opened fire, not at the planet, not at the cities, at the defensive fleet, at the military stations, at every symbol of power that floated in space. The battle was short, they fought, but their hearts were not in it. They knew they were beaten. They knew there was no hope. One by one their ships fell, burning like stars dying in the night. When it was over, floated alone in space, defenseless, the human fleet surrounded it like a ring of judgment. "Your military is gone," said. "Your empire is over. From this day forward they will be watched. If you ever attack another species, if you ever take another prisoner, if you ever forget this lesson, we will return. And next time we will not be so kind." She cut the channel and turned to her officers. "Set course for Earth. We are going home." As the fleet pulled away, allowed herself to feel something other than the cold focus of war. She thought about the 32 people in the medical bay below, being treated for their wounds. She thought about Commander, who had never stopped believing rescue would come. She thought about all the humans who had died to make this moment possible. It was worth it. Every life lost was worth it, because this was what it meant to be human. You did not leave your people behind. You did not forget. You did not surrender. You did whatever it took to bring them home. On the planet below, Emperor sat in his empty palace and stared at the sky. His empire was in ruins. His fleet was gone. His pride was broken. He had everything, and now he had nothing. General found him there, hours later, still staring upward. "They could have killed us all," said, his voice hollow. "Why did they stop?" Thought about the question for a long time. "Because they wanted us to live with this," he finally said. "They wanted us to remember. They wanted the galaxy to see what happens when you hurt them, and also what happens when they choose to show mercy." Closed his eyes. "I was wrong about them." "Yes," said, "you were." In the Galactic Council, the broadcast of the battle spread across every world. Species that had never heard of humans watched in amazement. Species that had dismissed them as weak now looked at them with new eyes. Addressed the council 1 week later. His voice was old and tired, but his words carried the weight of centuries. "Let this be a lesson to all of us," he said. "The humans are not like us. They love peace, but they do not fear war. They offer mercy, but they do not hesitate to destroy. They are the most dangerous species in this galaxy, not because of their weapons, but because of their will." He looked around at the assembled representatives. "We warned the Empire, do not provoke humans. Survival is not guaranteed. They did not listen. Let us hope we are wise enough to remember what they forgot." Back on Earth, the 32 survivors of 9 were reunited with their families. There were tears of joy and long embraces. There were stories shared and wounds that would take years to heal. Commander held his wife and daughter in his arms and cried for the first time since his capture. He had survived. He was home. His people had not forgotten him. "I knew you would come," he whispered to his wife Myra. "I never stopped believing." Myra held him. "We never stopped coming, not for 1 second." Captain did not attend the celebrations. She was not one for crowds or praise. Instead, She stood alone on the observation deck of the Iron Will, looking out at the stars. A young officer approached her carefully. "Captain, the President wants to thank you personally. There is a ceremony planned." Shook her head. "Tell them I am honored, but I have done my duty. That is thanks enough." The officer left and was alone again. She thought about all the things she had done, the ships she had destroyed, the lives she had taken, the fear she had spread across the galaxy. She did not regret it. She would do it again if she had to, because that was what it meant to be the shield of humanity. You did the hard things so others did not have to. You carried the weight so others could be free. Somewhere out there they were rebuilding. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready. Because the lesson was simple. Do not provoke humans. Survival is not guaranteed.